Hi everyone, I'm Jessica. Welcome to Diary of a Veganista. Today we're going to make some homemade granola. I'm going to teach you how simple this recipe is and how versatile it is and how you can kind of like customize it to your family's preferences or kind of dietary restrictions that you might have going on. This is such a delicious recipe and you can use it in different ways. It doesn't just have to be a bowl of granola with some milk on top. You can use it with like on a parfait with some yogurt and fruit and kind of layer it. It's just delicious. So let's get into it. First, we need to preheat our oven to 350 degrees. Okay, now that that's done, we're going to talk about all these ingredients going into our saucepan. The first part is we're going to use some coconut oil. I'm using a virgin coconut oil, cold pressed, organic. We're going to put this into our saucepan. This is 1/3 of a cup of coconut oil. Now, we're going to add some sweeteners. I'm going to discuss this a little bit before we get into all the other ingredients. This is where you can kind of customize what you truly want into here. What I like to do is a total of about 3/4 of a cup of sweetness into my batch of granola. With that, you can kind of mix and match what is good for your particular diet or for your family. In this recipe, I'm going to show you that I'm using 1/2 of a cup of pure maple syrup. Now, this could be agave, it could be honey if you do honey. You could use other sweeteners of choice from like monk fruit, xylitol, things like that. And I'm doing a combination of 2 different types of sweeteners in here. So we are doing the 1/2 a cup of pure maple syrup. So we're just going to pour that over the top like so. And in fact, I think I want to get out all the goodness out of this. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to show you the other part of my sweeteners. I'm going to use 1/4 of a cup of monk fruit in here because for us, I kind of like to do a combination of sweetness in it, and I really appreciate monk fruit. I just do. Yeah. 1/4 of a cup of monk fruit into my granola batch here. So let's put that in. Okay. Stuff is amazing. I love it. Other sweeteners that you could use would be xylitol or stevia. I'm actually allergic to stevia, so I don't cook with stevia in our house or put it into anything. And I think I'll have to make a whole video on that on the side on how I found out that I was allergic to stevia, because I think a lot of people may not even realize when they're taking stevia that they're having an allergic reaction to it. So there's, everybody's family is a little bit different. People have different, allergies to things. And for whatever reason, I personally have a stevia allergy, so I can't use that in my cooking. But I can use monk fruit, and I really do like monk fruit. A lot of people use that when they're on like the keto diets and different things like that. So monk fruit happens to be a sweetener alternative. So, and it has like 0 calories, it's keto certified, it's non-GMO, vegan, all the stuff, and it bakes like 1-to-1, same as like sugar, but you're not getting the sugar with this. So if you wanted to, you could do all monk fruit in here, like 1/2 a cup to 3/4 of a cup, and just leave out the maple syrup. So it kind of depends on how much sweetness you want your granola to be. And this is just the way that I do it, and it turns out really good. So you do you, and it's going to work. Okay. Next, we're going to put in 1/2 of a cup of water. So I like to add a little bit more liquid to this, and this helps so that when we're fluffing it around all of our oats, there's enough liquid to get everything a little bit moistened so that it works really well for just cooking it in the oven and getting that crunch. Next is cinnamon. This is not just standard cinnamon. This is kind of a pure cinnamon, and the kind that we really like. This is an organic Ceylon cinnamon, and Ceylon cinnamon tends to be for people that have cinnamon allergies, this is the one that they usually can eat that doesn't cause them to have a reaction. And I do have to say, it's more common than you think. There's 2 of my children were born with cinnamon allergies. My father has a cinnamon allergy and my sister. And so when I had kids, 2 of them, I didn't find this out until later on, and they were having the same symptoms. And I'm like, oh my goodness, you have a cinnamon allergy. So we have to be really careful in our house, and we have to get a specific brand. It's not necessarily the brand. We have to get a specific type of cinnamon that they don't have their allergic reaction to. So this is something else that this is okay for everyone in our household and everyone that seems to have allergies to cinnamon. It just might be the type of cinnamon that you're consuming. So just be cautious of that, because there might be other people, if you're making this for anyone or if you're making this to sell, like at a farmer's market, because you're learning this recipe and you're like, wow, I can make this vegan homemade granola. Fantastic. And I want to sell it at a farmer's market. If you can get a pure cinnamon source, that's going to be really great for people that happen to have cinnamon allergies. Okay, we're going to use 1 tablespoon of cinnamon into this. Next, we're going to do a little dash of Himalayan sea salt. Just a touch, just a little bit. There's something to do with adding a little saltiness makes everything sweeter. I'm just saying. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and warm this up now. All right, so the mixture is all warmed up. The coconut oil melted, everything is combined. Now we just have to add a couple more ingredients. Let's go ahead and add in a teaspoon of vanilla extract. We're just gonna stir that in. And to that, we're going to add some ground flax. I am using this flax meal right here. It works so good. We're just gonna pop this in here. 1 tablespoon of ground flax. We're gonna do 1 tablespoon of flax seed and 1 tablespoon of chia seeds. Stir this up, and we're gonna put this off to the side for about 10 minutes. What this does is it allows the flax and the chia to kind of absorb some of this liquid, and that's really gonna help to make everything kind of stick together, and you're gonna get more clusters in your granola because of this step. Let's just set this off to the side. Okay, now we're gonna put together the granola. I happen to have this really handy dandy tote here that came with a scooper. I love it. It's great. It holds like oats, and I have other ones for like flour and different things. We need 3 cups of oats. It can be quick oats, rolled oats, old-fashioned oats. I have used all of them. You can get the gluten-free kind of oats. If you're like Bob's Red Mill makes a pretty good gluten-free oat. That works really good too. And we just need 3 cups of oats. Totally simple. Let's do that now. Okay, now that our oats are done, isn't that easy? To the bowl of oats. This is optional. You don't need this for this recipe to work, but if you followed my last recipe where I taught you how to make almond coconut milk, you have leftover almond coconut pulp, and it's just shredded coconut and almonds, and this works into this granola. This is why I'm showing it to you, because this is a great way to use this up. But if you don't have it, it's okay. You don't have to substitute anything in place of this. This recipe will work without using this, 100%. So, all right, we're gonna throw that on top. There we go. Okay, now we're gonna add about 1/3 of a cup of coconut chips. You can use shredded coconut. I like everything to be unsweetened, so this is unsweetened coconut chips that I'm gonna put in here. And I'm actually gonna crunch these up because some of them are quite large, and if it's okay, if you wanna keep them large like this, that's fine. But sometimes I just like to break them up a little bit when I'm putting them in here, so that they're medium size, but not so massive. Anyway, so we're just gonna kind of do that. And I'm trying to do it one-handed, so that's fun. And to this, we're gonna add in 1/2 cup of nuts. This can be any nut that you wanna add in here. I'm gonna put in cashews this time, but I do it with pecans. I do this with chopped walnuts. I can do this with sliced almonds. It's really up to you. You could even do one with macadamia nuts. You could try it with pistachios. So you can do different nut combinations, and it might depend because when we're done with this, we're gonna be topping it with dates. So for this recipe today, we're doing a cashew date with the flax, the chia, and everything in it. But if you're like, well, I wanna make it more like an oatmeal cookie, then think of the walnuts with raisins. Or you could do a pecan cranberry. And nowadays, there's some really great cranberries at the store that taste like cherry. They've infused cherry or blueberry or different things into the dried cranberries. And you're like, oh my gosh. So there's a lot of different choices to make this granola really fun. I'm gonna use the 1/2 cup of cashews, and we're gonna be putting in dates at the end. The dates do not go in the oven. This is after everything bakes. When we pull it out, then we're gonna sprinkle it with chopped dates. Let's go ahead and put a 1/2 cup of cashews. Now, before we add our liquid, I wanna stir this all up. I'm gonna bring you in a little bit closer so you can see what's going on here, but I'm just gonna kind of break up the clusters and toss this around. Now it's time to bring in our liquid. Stir this up until it's all combined. Most of the liquid really goes down at the bottom of the bowl when you pour it in. So all you need to do is just kind of stir this until everything absorbs the liquid. Okay, we have a baking tray here, and it's lined with a Silpat, which is a non-stick, so it works great for the oven and making the granola not stick to the pan. I would suggest getting one of these or doing parchment paper, and that also works. Let's go ahead and put our granola onto the tray. Okay, and then just spread it out. You can kind of see here. Kind of want a flat layer of granola. Now that this is all spread out onto the tray, we're gonna go ahead and bake this. I'm gonna recommend, because everyone's home and oven is slightly different, and every home that even around the Northwest that we have moved into, I've had to adjust temperatures for baking, either cookies or goodies or even granola. So we're gonna go ahead and start off with the temperature being at 350. We're going to bake it, I would suggest for 12 to 15 minutes. We're gonna pull it out of the oven, and if the bottom has browned slightly, like you would say a cookie, we're gonna go ahead and flip it into sections so that we can brown the other side on the bottom and continue to bake it for an additional about 10 to 12, maybe even 15 minutes. There can be some adjustments. If you notice that you want your granola crunchier and it was too soft when it came out, but it browned, and you're like, well, what do I do? You can always lower the temperature and cook it longer. 300 degrees or even 275 in the oven, total of 40 to 45 minutes for a lot longer at a lower temperature. I like to just get mine done at 350, and I just do it, and it works really good. Another way is if you wanted this to go in your dehydrator, you could pop it into a dehydrator trays and dehydrate it overnight and try that. A lot of times that, when I've done it, it still turns out a little soft for my granola. So I like it to have a little crunch to it, to make it feel like, you know, a granola. So we're gonna bake it in the oven. All right, so let's pop this in our oven, 350 degrees for the first 15 minutes, and then we'll check back. Okay. Okay, the granola is cooked for the first 15 minutes. We're gonna go ahead and flip it. I kind of like to just take it section by section. No, and it's okay if you drop some. This is why we're doing it over here on the counter instead of inside the oven, because that could happen in the oven. Now just kind of spread that back out, and you can see how it's staying nice together in clusters, and it's starting to brown a little bit. This is what we're looking for. Let's continue to bake this in the oven for an additional 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, the granola is done and out of the oven, and you can tell that it's brown and beautiful and nice and crunchy, and it has a lot of really great like clusters in it. You can kind of see those. We're gonna go ahead and add some chopped dates to the top of this. You could do raisins or cranberries, depending on which one you'd like to do. I'm using about 1/2 of a cup. You could do 1/3 of a cup up to 1/2 a cup, a little bit more if you like dried fruit on top, and just have fun with it. Sprinkle your dried fruit all over. You could let the granola cool down now for about 10 minutes, and then we can either use it or we can store it in a container to use for later. You can put some fresh berries on top. Let's add some to that bowl too. Oops. We're gonna go ahead and just top this with our homemade almond coconut milk. I taught you how to make this in the last video. I'll put a link to that down in the description below. Okay, a little taste test. Oh, I know it's gonna be good. Yum. Yeah, that's delicious. You can also make this into a really fun parfait with all of your granola. It's very simple to do. This is coconut unsweetened vanilla that I like to use. So you can use any yogurt of choice for this. This is the one I'm using. You start with putting some yogurt down. Then we're gonna top it with some bits of granola, some fresh fruit, a bit more yogurt right there on the top. Fun little chunks of your granola that you just made. Top it with a couple of strawberries and maybe some blueberries for good luck. Thanks for watching. This recipe is down in the description below. Have a beautiful and blessed day.